guys, it's Jessica from Peace Love Books, and today I'm here with a recommendation video for forced proximity romances. I did this video about 3 months ago, and I have even more recommendations for you. I was initially going to do There's Only One Bed specifically, and I was super excited because I read a couple that had that, but I only had 3 on this list, so I decided to branch out and include all forced proximity. So I hope you enjoy this video. I love a good forced proximity romance. I'm also wearing my Fahrenheit 451 shirt that our entire department got, my English department, for Banned Book Week because today's Friday. We have been raising awareness to kids about banned books all week, so we all matched today. So I thought I would show off my fun shirt, but I'll go ahead and get to the recommendations of forced proximity where they're forced to be around each other, tension rises between them, and they can't deny their feelings any longer. The first one I have is Nice Guys Don't Win by Macaulay Smelter. This one is a roommates romance, and so our hero, he is a basketball player and he is initially supposed to room with his friend, and his friend is a very rich person who has a trust fund, and his parents threaten to cut off his trust fund if he doesn't get his act together at college, and they think that he will be well behaved on campus as opposed to off campus, and so he decides to pull out of being his roommate. And so the hero is like, I can't afford this rent on my own, and so his best friend runs into our heroine who is transferring to the college, and she transferred too late so she doesn't have a room, and so he's like, hey, I have a solution for you, come room with my best friend. She's very skeptical, but she does, and her dad happens to be the basketball coach, and he's a basketball player, but they don't really know that about each other until they've started living together, and so it's a little bit forbidden. Not super forbidden though, like no one's extremely angry about that situation, but they end up being really good friends first, hanging out a lot together, they live together, and I just loved how sweet this romance was. It was just super cute with the friends to lovers aspect, and them having to live together and kind of hanging out with the same friend group. She is new on campus because her fiance ended up cheating on her actually, so she has fresh start and they're always around each other, and it was so good. I really liked it. If you like a new adult romance, roommates, athlete, coach's daughter, read this one. The one that initially inspired this video is Flawless by Elsie Silver. This one definitely has the one bed trope, but it is very forced proximity because the heroine, it works for a PR firm where she has to basically babysit the hero. He is a bull rider. He says something that ruins one of his sponsorships, and so she is now shadowing his every move for the next couple months, including living on his family farm with him, going to all of his tournaments together, and the banter in here is amazing. They bicker so much to one another, but she gets along really well with his family though, and I love their dynamic together. I loved his brother, and all the side characters in here were amazing, and they end up falling for each other, and it was so sweet how much the hero really fell for her, but they could not stay away from each other and could not deny their attraction, even though from the beginning the dad is like, she works for her father, and so the father was like, do not fall for him, that is a big no-no, and they end up doing it anyways, and it was so good. I loved the hero so much. He is in his 30s and doing such a physical job as being a bull rider. He knows he's on his last leg, but he's determined to win the competition, and the heroine really gets to know him and understand what drives him and why he does what he does, and it was just really sweet and amazing, and I loved it so much. You have to read it if you haven't yet. Then I have The Outpost by Devney Perry. This one is another kind of roommate situation. They have to live together, but that's because the heroine is a reporter, and she ends up dating a guy to get a story about the mafia. Runs the story is like, my life is in danger, and ends up going to the small town where the guy who's kind of like Mr. Fix-It, everyone goes to him to solve their problems. He ends up taking her to the Outpost, which is basically a really secluded hunting cabin, and takes her there to hide her out. So he stays with her for a bit with his dog, and they end up spending a lot of time together, and it was so sweet. I love when they have to hide out together. There's another one in Devney Perry's other series where they have to hide out together because the heroine is in danger, and that kind of forced proximity is amazing because they literally cannot go out and do anything. They have to stay inside with one another 24/7, and so they end up getting closer, and I really liked how the heroine is trying to evaluate what she wants out of her life, and she's very much a city girl, and so they know if they ever end up falling for each other, he's very much a small town country guy, and he could never go to the city, and she's like, I'd never be fulfilled moving somewhere like here, but they end up really liking each other, and then there's that whole dangerous element situation that heightens their awareness of each other and their emotions, and it's just really good. I love this one so much. This is definitely my favorite in the series. This is not my favorite series by her, but this one is one of my favorite books by her, so definitely if you like the hideout because your life's in danger, you need to check this one out. Another one I've talked about a lot, but I just need to talk about again is Puck Me Secretly. So I think most of the books in this series characters are actually forced proximity. This one's book 1 though, and it is forced proximity because the heroine is the new, I don't even remember her title, but she works for the GM, the general manager of a hockey team, and she is taking care of a lot of things, and she's put in charge of the new rookie, and the new rookie is a guy who is someone she's met before because they were on a plane ride to where like the team is, like Vancouver or something, and the plane literally crashed. Like, it seems a little bit melodramatic, but they were on the plane next to each other. He wasn't really interested in small talk, but then the plane crashes and they end up having to stay the night somewhere, and they spend the night together because their emotions are so heightened and like they're just like need that comfort. They end up hooking up and thinking they'll never see each other again, and she shows up for work the next day and realizes that the rookie is the one that she hooked up with, and she is put in charge of him by her dad to make sure he stays in line. So it is definitely a forced proximity because they are working together, and the heroine has to make sure he is keeping his act together because no one wanted him. He had a lot of drama on his old team, and so she needs to make sure he doesn't get in trouble. Kind of like Flawless, but with hockey, and it was so good. He was so protective of her though, like even if it would jeopardize his career, he was like, no one touches her, and I love that. This one was just so good. Definitely forbidden romance too because she works the team and he's a player, but I love this so much. So if you have not yet read Deadstone or the series, you have to because every book is amazing. A lot of them do have forced proximity and they're just so good. The next one I have is a road trip romance, which I've talked about a lot recently because I recently read it and I just adored it, and that is Give Me More by Sarah Kate. So this one is a married couple and their male best friend, and it ends up being MMF. So it's really good. The married couple is madly in love. They've been together a while. It's Isabel and Hunter. I always forget their name. I think it's Hunter. And then Drake is the other one. So Isabel and Hunter have been married. They love each other and they all own this like club together, and they are going around with Drake, who is a contractor. I think he like helps like build the place and renovate it. They're going around the country with him to different clubs and trying them out and seeing what they do and if they can add to their own club. And so on the road trip and during the hotel stays, things heat up between the three of them because Hunter realizes he likes seeing his wife with someone else and trusts Drake with that and asks them if they would be willing to give into that, his desire for that, as one of his things that he likes in a relationship. So things get really, really complicated though because Hunter had a very homophobic father. So Hunter does not believe that he's attracted to men and women, and so he is very, very reluctant to admit that he kind of has a thing for Drake too. And they all three end up together. Like, that's the end of this book. It is an HEA, it is a romance, and it's really, really good, but they are able to explore this side of their relationship because they are on this road trip together and staying the night in hotels together, so it gives them a chance, and they're kind of forced to confront this on the trip. So such a good series. I love this book. Then I have one that I know a lot of people have read, but I really like it, and it has a really funny one bed trope, and that is The Spanish Love Deception by Elena Armas. This one, the hero and heroine are kind of enemies at work. They really don't like each other, but then the heroine needs a date to this wedding in, I think they end up going to Spain. They end up going to Spain for this wedding, and he agrees to fake date her as her date for this wedding. She is trying to convince everybody that it is actually a real relationship, and so they show up thinking they'll have separate bedrooms. They literally break a bed so that, like, I forget even what they were doing, but one of the beds ends up breaking and they have to end up sharing a bed, and she does not want a real relationship with him. She does not want a real relationship with him. She hates him, but they end up having to share a bed, and it's definitely forced proximity. They're at this destination wedding together, so it's like a vacation romance, a traveling. That's where you get the forced proximity as well. I really love forced proximity when they have to travel together, just like in Give Me More, because it also feels like you escape real life for a little bit and you give into your fantasies a little bit more, especially with the other person. So this one was really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a bit too long, I will admit that, but I really enjoy this one, and I can't wait to read the next one where they're roommates, so that's definitely a forced proximity, but I haven't read it yet. And the last one I have is Refuge, which I talk about all the time, by Catherine Cowles, but they are literally secluded on an island together, so you can't get more forced proximity than that. They live on an island together, so she's the caretaker for an island. Her brother murdered her family. He is in an institution right now because he is literally psychotic, and she knows he'll get out soon, and so she has taken on a new identity, and she's the caretaker for this family's island. island. They sell it off to an artist. He is hiding out because his art was used by a serial killer back in New York, and he's horrified, and so he's like, I'm gonna buy this island, make my studio here, and it'll be great. And he decides to keep her on, and they slowly fall in love with each other because they are the only ones who live on this island together. It's not like super secluded. They can take a boat and do a really quick trip onto the bigger island, but overall it was super sweet. I loved how they opened up to each other, especially because they both were running from pasts that really haunted them and hurt them. And of course it's Catherine Kell, so there's a little bit of suspense. So we have dead bodies start showing up and they have to figure out what's happening, but this one is just so good. I love it so much. I love the fact that they were running away and hiding on this island and then open up to someone and trust someone and fall in love. Definitely forced proximity. You definitely need to read this one. Those are all my recommendations for forced proximity romances. Let me know if you've read these or have any more recommendations. I do have my previous video I've done, which I will link down below, so make sure you check that one out. And that's all I have. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.